way to start because we don't want to keep waiting. Um, we have a lot of local food producers in Southeast Colorado in the greater Ark Valley Food Shed that we'd like to connect with, and so conduct this, what was going to be the summit, through a series of Zoom calls. So my name is Daryl Birkenfeld, and I'm glad to see folks who are on. And it was great talking to a lot of you the last few days. I think the first thing I would like to do is I want to introduce you to Chelsea, who's just doing the tech part, the tech support, and then we'll do some introductions of everybody. Chelsea, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi guys, I'm Chelsea. I work in Springfield for John Whitler, and I'll be your tech support today.
Okay, so one thing we would like to do is if you have a question or comment at some point, you could put it in the chat box. Does everybody know how to use the chat box function? And Alice, if you don't, that's okay. But it's down at the bottom of your screen. You would come up chat. One thing I would like everybody to do in the chat box in the next 5 minutes is just to type in your name, your email address, and your cell phone number, if you wouldn't mind, so I can build a contact list, okay? I have some of those, but I don't have all of them. So that would be one thing. And then I would like to get people introduced. So let's start with this man on the screen here. Oh, Rick Robbins. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, this is Rick Robbins. Behind me is Kent Woolert. We're with Colorado Mills in Lamar, Colorado. Oilseed processor producing sunflower oil for the food market and also livestock feeds.
Thanks, Rick. Another thing you do is you organize a Know Your Farmer tour, right? I'm not saying it correctly.
Oh, yes. For the past 5 years, we've done a fall get together called Know Your Farmer, Know Your Food tour. And what we do is we open this up to anybody who wants to come, but we primarily focus on Front Range. This last fall, we rented a tour bus, got some promotional help with Kansas Farmers Union and Farm Bureau and some like our county commissioners, and brought 24, I believe, people out on a tour bus. Took them a tour of our facility, took them out to the sunflower fields that were getting ready to be harvested, served them lunch, had local chefs in our area, local food, and what we do there, it's really exciting to get people to come out. One of the things we found that I didn't know or didn't think about is just as frustrated as we get driving in the city, they're very apprehensive about driving in rural areas because it's so open. They're afraid if they break down, who's gonna stop so and help them. But exciting that once they come out here and see this, they're very engaged. Really like what they as one person from Boulder said, he had to come to southeastern Colorado to find humanity, which it was kind of I call that a compliment to our area. So we've done this for quite some time, but what it really does is gets that connection with chefs. We also have, because it is a 3-hour ride, we have presentations on this tour bus. This tour bus has TVs and different things, and we have people talking to them on different types of foods. We had a baking company sponsoring the breakfast. We had a beverage company, a beer company sponsor the trip back home. We had and talked about the different companies and things like that. So what it does, promotes our area and at the same time promotes some of our customers that we're providing our product to.
Thanks, Rick. That's a good way to break the ice. As I ask everybody else to introduce yourself, if you just tell us just who you are and where you're at, and just maybe quickly what you're doing, so we'll get everybody introduced and then can move along a couple of other things. Rafe, are you on right now? Rafe Schroeder, can you introduce yourself?
Yep, my name's Rafe Schroeder. I'm from Campo, Colorado. We farm and ranch down here in the southeast corner. We're looking at expanding our direct sales meat market and putting in a vegetable garden this summer that hopefully supports our community and surrounding areas.
Thanks, Rafe. Katie Kopaz, would you like to introduce yourself next?
Sure. My name is Katie Kopaz, and I run a business called Blue Roof Hydro Farm. I started with greenhouse produce, mostly tomatoes and some cucumbers. I also do bedding plants, and we sell home raised beef direct to consumer as well.
Thank you for getting on, even though the store is open right now, right?
Yeah, the store is open, so if I'm distracted, I apologize.
No problem.
Where are you from?
Alice. Katie,
I'm
where
from
are you
near
from?
Eads. Sorry about that. From Eads in Kiowa County.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Alice Hill, do you want to go next, Alice?
Sure. I'm Alice Hill. I live in Luray, Kansas, which is in the north central part of Kansas. I have 40 plus years of growing experience in the western part of the state, northwest corner, Rawlins County. But we recently relocated to this area and are rebuilding our own personal food supply, as well as developing what I call a farm share, which is a very minimal customer-based direct food marketing program off the farm. I guess my claim to fame that I'll be speaking about in June is a novel high tunnel system that I developed when we were back in Rawlins County. It's called a topless high tunnel, and that's one of the things that Daryl knows me for.
Thanks, Alice.
You're welcome.
Linnea, would you go next?
Sure. I'm Linnea Evera. We live down in Pritchett, Colorado, and we sell beef direct to the public. My husband's family owns a small feedlot, so we raise cattle and then sell a few of them to the public as well.
Wonderful. We've got some, what I would call statewide food advocates on, or regional food advocates. So Bill, would you introduce yourself? Bill, you have to unmute. Bill, okay.
You bet. Hi, everybody again. It's Bill Stevenson. I'm a colleague of Dan Hobbs at the Rocky Mountain Farmers Union Co-op Development Center. And when I heard about this presentation today, I just couldn't wait to hear Dan and to meet all of you. So it's great to be here.
Good to have you. Jessica, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm Jessica Wright, Chef Jess. I live in Aurora, Colorado, but I work for Live Well, Colorado, a statewide organization focused on food systems and helping our institutions and communities support our local and regional farmers. And I wanted to join this call because we are working on supporting our school districts and helping them bring local products into their meal programs as it makes sense for them, and hoping COVID dependent on actually doing workshops this winter in Southeast Colorado and Northeast Colorado. So this is a great opportunity for us to learn and listen and see where the opportunity is and what farmers are interested. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you. Is it Liza or Lisa? Lisa.
Good morning,
There you go.
Liza Marin from the San Luis Valley. I live in Saguache, and we have a 38-acre incubator farm, the Rio Grande Farm Park, and we also have Valley Roots Food Hub, aggregating from Southern Colorado to Southern Colorado in the Front Range through our Taproot Cooperative. And Hobbs Family Farm is one of our important producers. Really excited to hear what Dan's going to say this morning, and thankful to be on this call. Thanks, everybody.
Good to have you. Gary, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, this is Gary Melcher. I'm from Holly, Colorado. I guess I raise corn and wheat, but I also raise a small sweet corn and vegetable patch and then utilize it in my own cooking business as well.
Thank you. Good to have you. I think one more person besides our speaker, and that would be the man indicated by Fez. Would you introduce yourself?
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Fernando, but they call me Fez, Chef Fez, and I work with Chef Jessica in Livewell, Colorado. And I was one of those lucky ones who went to see Rick's operation down to Lamar and see the sunflowers and the whole thing. I went on that day trip. It was really cool and very educational. So thanks for having me.
Great to have you. I think that is everybody. Is anyone, I've been through the list a couple times, but I think we have everyone introduced. So if you, again, would, I see a lot of people put their contact information in the chat box. Very helpful. If you could just put your name, your email address, your cell phone number, something about what you do, that's really helpful. We'll get that recorded and put out to everyone. I'm going to say a few things about overall what we're doing on this Zoom summit, and then turn it over to Dan Hobbs. So my name is Daryl Birkenfeld. I'm Executive Director of Ogallala Commons, and I live in Nazareth, Texas, an hour south of Amarillo, but I have spent a lot of time in Southeast Colorado, especially the last 7 years. But even before that, we've had a community intern program. We've done educational outreach, youth engagement, but something that Ogallala Commons has been doing since 2006 is working on rebuilding local food systems. It started with some work in Kansas. Bill will remember this back when the High Plains Food Co-op was getting going. We had producer meetings up in Northwest Kansas and drew from some Colorado folks to that as well. Then we started working on what we call food sheds. Everybody lives in a food shed, just like everyone lives in a watershed. And just like a watershed, there's all kinds of ways to define your food shed, big or small. But this whole thing of building resilience in local food sheds is part of our work. And I guess our most important pilot example is what we call Local Llano, which is down here in the Texas Panhandle. It's what we call the Llano Estacado Food Shed. And that is really the pilot that we approach Colorado Health Foundation with as something that could be done in Southeast Colorado as well. People have been growing food, eating and selling for decades, centuries. This isn't something that anyone invented. What we have tried to do is just come in and raise the profile of local food producers, using some digital tools, having some conferences like the one we wanted to have in Holly. So we've been doing Local Llano since 2014. I think we've identified 75 local food producers. So they have a profile on the website, and I put a link to that website if you ever wanted to look at it. We've done a number of videos, and we've kept a consistent social media outreach, 4 to 5 posts a week for years, covering farmers markets, individual producers, all that kind of stuff. So I think there's a lot more knowledge about local food and where you can find it and who's growing it, and also about preparation of food, etc. All that has been something that comes through our digital tools. So that is really the idea with the Ark Valley Food Shed. Again, as Dan is going to point out, the Arkansas Valley is huge. I mean, the Arkansas, what would you call the Arkansas Food Shed is multi-state. We're trying to work on a small part, southeast first. We know there's a lot in Pueblo, west of Pueblo, so on and so forth, where Dan lives in Avondale. But right now, at this point, we're more concerned about counties like Baca, Prowers, Kiowa County, Bent, Otero. It's already a lot of presence there, but that's what we proposed to do, was have a planning grant and begin to do some of this identifying of local food producers, do some outreach, then begin to build some resources and a digital presence. So this summit was part of that. So that's a little overview. I hope that everybody would want to agree to a couple more of these calls, because we have some more presentations that were part of that summit that I think would work well for Zoom calls. I would like to do something about building up the food shed, the next call. Then we've already met Alice Hill, who has something to share about high tunnels based on her growing experience that I think would be helpful to our anybody who participates. We'd like to do a call about what Jessica referred to, which is accessing local food in Southeast Colorado, perhaps in schools, to restaurants. It might sound very far-fetched, and yet the time is now. And so we want to have a panel around that topic. And then we'd like to finish this set of calls with next steps. And that would be with John Whitler, who's coordinating this project. So that's kind of an overview. The first call today, the first presentation today, would be with Dan Hobbs. And so I just want to introduce Dan. I mean, he needs to introduce himself, but I'll just say, I think I heard of Dan Hobbs in the 90s. That's how old I am. When he was in New Mexico, Dan, it might not have been the 90s when you were at Rociado. I can't remember when, but I remember hearing about you then, and I got to visit you last year, and so it's a great pleasure to have you on now. So I'm going to turn this over to Dan Hobbs.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Daryl. Yeah, let's see. So I'm a cooperative development specialist with the Rocky Mountain Farmers Union. I work with Bill Stevenson, primarily in the territory of Southern Colorado and Northern New Mexico, but Farmers Union works in 3 states, New Mexico, Colorado, and Wyoming. So we help farmer rancher co-ops get set up and provide various forms of training and technical assistance. And it's through that capacity that I met Daryl. And I was at these meetings in Atwood, Kansas, I think. Gosh, it must have been mid 2000s. And it was just so impressive to learn at that time the scope of Ogallala Commons and kind of the territory that you cover, Daryl, and just the sort of steadfastness of the work and the development approaches and the natural rapport you have with people of all kinds of different communities. So Farmers Unions really enjoyed working with Ogallala over the years. But Daryl asked me today to really put on my farmer hat and talk about direct marketing. So this is going to be more of a kind of a farm-based presentation that I prepared. I've just got, I don't know, probably 6 or 7 slides, and so I was going to kind of advance through those and just hit on a few points. And I think I haven't done too many of these presentations on Zoom, but I'm very comfortable with, at any time if somebody's got a question, as I'm going along, to just jump in. We don't have to wait till the end if somebody has something to say or wants me to pause. So let's see, and fun to see the folks from further afield, from Denver, Aurora, and the San Luis Valley. That's a great addition. I got to work a little bit with LiveWell when we had a food shed forum at the University of Colorado Springs last winter, and what cool work they are doing. So I hope you guys will really tie in with them as they work on this culinary stuff in Southeast Colorado. And then of course, Liza Marin up in the San Luis Valley, one of the heroes of local food. Just incredible what she's doing up there. Okay, so let's jump into the presentation. I entitled it the Changing Landscape of Direct Marketing. So is everybody viewing the slides now?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So this first photo is our lovely river upstream from the Pueblo Reservoir. I think this must be Howard area or somewhere up towards Salida. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. This is not the greatest depiction of the watershed, but I like it because it really shows how big our area is. On the far left top, you can see Leadville. Down on the bottom, we've got Trinidad, and of course we got the Kansas border out there on the right. It's a huge area, not a lot of water, but a lot of interesting communities, rich history, and some very productive agriculture, both irrigated agriculture and dryland agriculture. The other reason I like this slide is it's got these geologic designations in there, the Colorado Piedmont, the Southern Rocky Mountains. These are different so-called provinces. And then you can see in the upper right there just how much of the state the Arkansas Basin actually covers. And Daryl, I really appreciate your comment about food sheds and watersheds, and this kind of harkens back to some of the work of John Wesley Powell. He was one of the surveyors of the West, and man with one arm that navigated the Colorado River, went down the Grand Canyon in a little boat, and just there's a terrific book by Wallace Stegner called Beyond, I think it's Beyond the 100th Meridian, that talks about Powell's work and his recommendations to Congress in the gosh, maybe 1860s. Help me, Daryl, does that sound about right? I think you're on mute.
1878.
Oh, nice. All right, we got a rural sociologist on board today. So that is just a terrific book, and there's some really interesting stuff in there about how Powell thought about water, equitable allocation of water, organizing society around water. Many of his recommendations were ignored by Congress, but there's some information in there that would be interesting to those of us that live in the arid country. So food shed, watershed, I kind of think is synonymous. In my travels and presentations and work throughout the years, being based in Pueblo, I've often referred to Southeast Colorado as our local area. I'll also throw in here, though, that the federal definition for local food is actually, there's two of them, 400 miles from the point of production, or alternatively in the state where the food is produced. So there's been lots of discussion and arguments over the years about what is local food. That's probably as close as a definition as we could agree on, are these USDA definitions. But here in Western terms, we're talking watersheds. Okay, how about next slide? This is a photo out of the Rocky Mountain Farmers Union archives. We have a very old farm organization formed in 1907, and for our 100th year, we had a photo archive project going on. So I just pulled this out of the archives. Of course, a kind of an iconic Arkansas Valley scene with the melons there. But my point is here, I want this discussion we're having today to really be addressing family scale agriculture as opposed to industrial scale agriculture. And Rick, to your comment, about the people coming down from Denver, it's just amazing how, we need to do this kind of ongoing literacy and education with our urban counterparts, our co-producers, our customers. People have a lot of misconceptions about how things are in the rural areas. And as I was doing some reading this winter, I was just struck by the fact that within 80 years' time, we had 85% of the country living in rural areas back in the 1930s, and 15% in the urban areas. And now it's totally the reverse. I think it's like 14% of the population live in the rural areas, and the rest live in the urban areas. So we've shifted very quickly from a rural country to an urban country. And with that, there's a lot of casualties, mostly in people's knowledge about how things work and how things are laid out in the food system and in the countryside. And so a lot of these misconceptions in the urban areas, I think, irritated me for some years, but I've tried to get to the higher road of thinking it's just an opportunity to educate and provide some literacy. And so it was interesting to learn about Rick's outreach to the urban areas and people's experiences coming into the countryside. I hope we can facilitate more of those kinds of things.
Dan, I want to add a little bit to that. As you say, how we've switched. When I was in high school a few decades ago, average American was 2 generations away from agriculture. Today, we are 5 generations away from agriculture on the average American. And so truly, we shouldn't be surprised that people don't know where their food comes from. And the exciting part is when you get these people that come out on this bus and step out into rural America, they get excited. And I use the reference of, we get bored with the toys that are in our toy box. Nobody thinks that what we do is exciting because we don't see the shine. But when you were a kid, all your neighbor kids had the coolest toys, and yours were boring until they all came to your house, and then they found out your toys were pretty cool. And I think we have to remember that what we have out here is exciting to people that don't get to see it. It was interesting to watch some of our people, as one of our customers who runs a feedlot, come in to order some feed, and he's in his hat and his boots and his spurs and his belt buckle, and they stopped in awe of a real cowboy. So as you see those things, we have to capitalize, and a simple thing of letting them have an opportunity to drive or ride on a tractor or a combine. They now understand when they always talked about rich farmers. Then they get to see what investment these farmers have in their agriculture, and it gets them a little closer to understand what. And probably the coolest comment, we had another individual from Boulder who was an immigrant from India 40 years ago. And his comment was, I saw the people today that I saw when I decided to come to America. So, without making it sound bad about Boulder, what he was saying was that's not who he sees in Boulder today. But the people here is who he saw when he decided to come.
Yeah. Oh, great contributions. Thanks, Rick. I was as you were speaking there, I was involved with the State of Colorado Agritourism Strategic Plan about 4 years ago as part of a little consulting team, and we were down in Springfield, I think, and I'm not going to remember who the couple was, but there were some folks that had this idea of these Santa Fe trail rides, where you come down and have a chuck wagon meal, and then you actually get in one of these old carts and travel a piece of the original Santa Fe Trail. And there's endless opportunities there, and hopefully this tourism piece will come back around soon. Okay, let's maybe the last thing I want to say about this family scale agriculture slide is now's our time, with the sort of events that have happened here over the course of the winter and early spring with this pandemic. People are paying more attention, I think, and there's a receptivity to good food and good agriculture. And so I just, I'm pretty interested in how we can leverage these circumstances into something positive and innovative in our communities. Okay, next slide. Okay, this is a concept map of the value chain. And I want to just spend a quick minute differentiating between supply chains and value chains. We've heard a lot in the media recently about these industrial meat plants and consolidation in the food and agriculture industry. And it just, blows me away that we're still fighting these kinds of dynamics of industrialization within the food system, same as in the late 1800s and early 1900s. And it's just one that we can't quite conquer. It seems like in the American economy, but we've got some really interesting concepts and developments in this value chain space. That's, you look at this little map and it looks like a supply chain. You've got kind of all of your links that you think of when you think of big scale production. But the difference here, the emphasis on these value chains, is we are trying to create systems that bring everybody up together, whether it's fair treatment of the workers in the fields or in the meat plants, the people that are trucking and handling and processing the food, of course the farmers themselves, the people on the retail end. There's certain values that hold us together around fairness and equity, living wages, and I like to believe that this is the future, and this is Liza Marin. I'm glad she's on the call, and maybe she'll have something to offer here too, because she's kind of central to the creation of value chains in southern and southeastern Colorado through her food hub work that she mentioned. So I just mainly put this up there to introduce the terminology of value chain versus supply chain. And the Rocky Mountain Farmers Union works in this space a lot, and historically too. This isn't just a modern concept, but as an organization, we've been kind of fighting for equity and family farmers and ranchers, for many decades. Okay, next slide. Oops, back one. There we go. So I mentioned, Liza mentioned the Taproot Cooperative and the Valley Roots Food Hub. And I want to make sure that food hubs are on the table. Now, Daryl wanted me to focus on direct marketing, but so this is not direct marketing per se, but I bring it up because it's very complementary of direct marketing. And in our operation here, we're in the Avondale Boone area, Eastern Pueblo County. We farm about 40 irrigated acres with specialty crops, vegetables, and seeds, primarily open pollinated seeds. And we're getting into some heritage grain production too. When Daryl came by a couple of years ago, he met me at the bottom of the Pueblo chili field during our first pick of the season. But the food hub has become an incredibly important tool for people in remote and rural areas. And I think this is why I just want to bring it to the attention of you folks that are further down the valley from us, because it might have an interesting role for you to play. And I'll add that, Rick, I know Nick Chambers, who works with the Valley Roots Food Hub, buys some of your sunflower oil, and it's got a great reputation. And maybe there's already some trucking linkages in place that could complement some of your operations. So, okay, so here you go. This is a USDA definition of a food hub. It's an entity that works on the aggregation, distribution, and marketing of primarily locally produced goods from multiple producers to multiple markets. So pretty simple definition, but this has really become, I would say, the central focus of the USDA branch that worked on the Know Your Farmer, Know Your Food kind of stuff a few years back. And, we had farmers markets, were kind of the darling of USDA in the early 2000s. Food hubs sort of became the next focus of local food development. And they were really focused on slightly larger scale producers, mid-scale producers, okay? Many small scale producers need to stay in that direct or retail marketing space. People with slightly larger productions found that they needed other outlets. And as you can imagine, being in Springfield or Lamar or Campo, trucking your own food up to Colorado Springs or Denver is a pretty long haul. And so by working on this type of value chain, it creates an opportunity for farmers and ranchers to spend more time on the land and allow a intermediary organization to take up the logistical work of aggregating that food, distributing, marketing that food, and in some cases processing that food. So we actually set up a food hub in the old Excelsior School in Boone, right on Highway 50, you know, about halfway between Fowler and Pueblo in 2013. That facility is still operating, but it's kind of evolved away from a food hub to be more of a facility that houses different independent businesses. We're calling it an accelerator now. But that group, which was called the Arkansas Valley Organic Growers originally, merged with Liza's group, the Valley Roots Food Hub, based in the Mosca, Alamosa area. And so together, these two regions, the Arkansas and the Upper Rio Grande, have come together with two food sheds and some 50 or 60 producers, lots of farmers and ranchers, but also makers of value-added products, and have created a very special and kind of trailblazing organization that's supplying people in rural communities, but also in urban communities. Now, this is very different than some of these supply chains. This local food hub is, it doesn't carry much inventory. It orders as it sells product, and it's vulnerable in some ways. It doesn't have deep pockets to weather changes in the economy, but what it does have is agility and nimbleness to respond to changing conditions. And so when this virus hit, Valley Roots, for example, saw a lot of its markets dry up, restaurants and institutions primarily, but because it was diversified with multiple markets, as you see here on this Food Hub defined slide, it was able to start servicing individual families. So it's just a really quick and interesting pivot to witness. And so I guess maybe I'll just conclude here with, I think these food hubs are very complementary to direct markets. Should you as a producer have enough stuff that you can't maybe supply all to your direct markets, food hubs might be a good sort of additional fit. Okay, let's go on to the next slide. And actually, Liza, are you still with us? Do you want to offer anything about Valley Roots, Taproot, and the work you're doing?
Sure, I'd love to. And I first of all just wanted to say we love this sunflower oil. It's one of the staples that the Valley Roots Food Hub is able to provide beyond fruits and vegetables and proteins to our customers. And so this is a wonderful product. I cooked our eggs in this morning. So, and I wouldn't have it if it weren't for the Food Hub because it comes from Lamar. And so so happy to have that. And so just a couple points came to my mind while you were talking. One of them is that when we first wanted to launch the Food Hub, we partnered with the Rocky Mountain Prevention Research Center to do a academic study of direct market farmers to see if they thought a food hub was something they would like to have. And we tried to interview the entire set of direct market farmers in the San Luis Valley. We interviewed some 90 farmers. However, only 63 of them were actually growing food for people in the San Luis Valley to access. So if you were growing alfalfa or some other kind of feedstock, you weren't eligible for the survey or for the interview. And so we came back with 63 farmers who over 90% of them said a food hub was needed, that they wanted to farm and do what they did well, and they would like the marketing, aggregation, distribution piece to be a support system to them. And 77% of those that we interviewed said they would participate if we launched the food hub. So so that was the one piece. And then the other thing that just came to my mind is, yeah, we had 90% wholesale markets before COVID. And now it's almost exactly the opposite, 90% families that we're serving. We have some, diehard grocery stores and schools that are still ordering from us, but 90% of our customers in March switched from the wholesale market to the retail market. And the last thing is that Local Orbit, which is this amazing software that's allowed us to do this just-in-time ordering. It's an online platform where the farmer lets us know on Monday what they have. The customer has to order by Tuesday. Wednesday, the farmer sees what's been ordered and can harvest and or get it out of their stock if they're, if it's sunflower oil, and we keep some inventory. And then Thursday we aggregate from the farm, and Friday we deliver. So very often we are delivering food that's been harvested within 2 days, which is just a really beautiful process. And we also don't then have any inventory that isn't already spoken for. And so our warehouse space is minimal for what the volume of food that we pass through there. And then we have, I feel like we have we have an important staging locations, and Boone is the primary one, and then also a few other nodes, and there's we're trying to spread that. A beautiful local food system looks like many nodes, and many nodes across our planet that are all connected, giving and taking to each other. And that's that's our vision that we are moving for, and COVID's helped us see the importance of that in a way.
Thank you for that contribution. It's just, I can't express enough how important the development of Valley Roots and Taproot has been for food and agriculture in the region. And again, you see these big consolidated outfits begging for federal bailout, and then on this side, we have these value chains that can turn on a dime and get food into individual households. It's just a fascinating study in resilience and adaptability. Okay, we're running. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Can I say one more thing? I just want to say how valuable the Rocky Mountain Farmers Union was to us launching this food hub. They partnered with us, supported us, and we couldn't have done it without the Rocky Mountain Farmers Union. So big shout out to the Farmers Union.
Oh, thanks, Liza. Okay, so we're short on time, so I'm going to speed through this. When we talk about direct marketing, that term is kind of synonymous with retail marketing. You're getting a full dollar for your product. The common things that we think of with direct markets are farmers markets, community-supported agriculture programs, buying clubs, and farm stands. I would say those are kind of the main tools in the box for agricultural producers. This slide here is from the Colorado Farm and Art Market in Colorado Springs. I put it up to illustrate the changing landscape that we're in with these farmers markets. This woman, Ruthie, who's the manager, put this together and had published this on Facebook a couple of days ago. So I got permission from her. Now, this is what they're instructing people to do. Get in and get out of the market. Keep your hands clean, keep your distance, reduce contact, minimize use of cash, don't eat at the market, come alone, leave the family and the dogs. So it's a different world we're in now. So, we talk about the pivots on the food hub side. Here's a pivot on the farmers market side. Maybe things will return to normal. We certainly hope they will. But in the meantime, we're seeing direct markets have to adapt to the landscape to restore and retain the confidence of their customers, and of course, importantly, keep everybody safe. Okay, next slide. Okay, so I ran through some of these items. Community supported agriculture, I'm going to say very quickly, I thought this was, our world was trending away from this form of marketing. These are community supported agriculture started in the mid-1980s. This involved very strong consumer groups partnering with producers and pledging money in the springtime when farmers and ranchers were cash poor. They were involved in those days in actual budgets and crop planning, and many of these consumer groups put out newsletters, and it was a very revolutionary development internationally. And we're seeing a resurgence in these community-supported agriculture programs. As people are losing confidence in some of these broadliners and industrial food system, they are turning back to these community-supported agriculture programs. So they turn out to be pretty durable economic engines. And so it's pretty exciting. Subscription programs, I would say, is a slight derivation of the community-supported agriculture program. Still involves consumers stepping up, making commitments to the producers, but maybe not paying up front as you would in a CSA type program, but paying as you go would probably be the primary difference there. Box programs are taking on great importance now. Back in the old days, people used to go to these community supported agriculture distributions and pick out their own produce. We're probably going to have to be moving away from that, at least for the short term. And so in these aggregation facilities, small crews pack out boxes so that there's minimal handling with lots of different customers. Employer wellness programs, I've never been involved with any of these directly, but I've read about them around the country where somebody like Comcast, for example, might take a deduction out of people's paychecks so that they could get a box. And so if you have a employer who's inclined to support its employees in this kind of way, there's ways to reduce the handling of cash, provide some advanced planning for the producers, and then, you know, this is scalable kinds of stuff. This is a form of direct marketing that could really be the next frontier if anybody's inclined to pursue it. Herd share, many of you are livestock producers. I'm sure you're familiar with these raw milk programs where the customers actually own the animals and own a right to get the milk. We've got one here in Pueblo County called Larga Vista. Farmers Union years ago helped make these kinds of programs legal with the Raw Milk Association. And so that's a pretty important deal for dairy producers. Digital platforms, I'm not the biggest expert in the world on this, but it's becoming increasingly important to have good online presence to tell your story, to make it easy for customers to order your products and to manage your inventory. So lots of different platforms out there. Liza is probably a pretty good resource. Her Valley Roots Food Hub has a very stable system and has done a lot of research in this area. Okay, let's see what we got next after this. All right, last slide. I made it, Daryl, right on time, almost.
Right on.
So anyway, good to be with you guys today. Here's my contact information, my cell phone, our farm website. And if you want to discuss anything about direct marketing, be happy to. I can also direct you to Liza and Nick with the Food Hub, and also to Rocky Mountain Farmers Union should you want to band together with any other producers in some sort of cooperative fashion. Thanks for having me, Daryl.
Good to have you, Dan. Could you just say quickly what is Pueblo Seed Food Company?
Oh yeah, okay. So this basically is the brand name for our farm, and so we sell open pollinated seed, packeted seed. We maintain about 70 varieties of vegetable, herb, and flower seed here at our farm. We sell these to national food companies on a contractual basis, but then also to garden centers and Whole Foods, and then online to that puebloseed.com. And then we are building up our online presence for food also. So stuff that's shelf stable, we're starting a mail order subscription program. We do a lot with garlic and shallots and grain, and that's all kind of easy stuff to ship around through the U.S. mail. So we're just starting to populate the kind of food side of this business. But our fresh produce all basically goes into Liza's system and into a little local CSA that we have also. But yeah, so that's our developing enterprise here, and we just renamed our company Pueblo Seed and Food. Gosh, I think this past fall. But we've been growing here in Avondale area since 2000.
Thanks, Dan. Great to have you on. Really powerful stuff for us to think about and a good way to start. We've got about 4 minutes for some questions. Anybody have questions or they want to ask of Dan on any of the slides or something you heard? I don't see anything in the chat box. Dan, I would just like you to say, could you just, you had a good illustration of value chain. Again, the contrast and definitions between value chain and supply chain.
Yeah, well, maybe, I kind of emphasized a lot of the values of these value chains, of equity, parity,
Okay.
respect for people across the system. But here's another way to say it from the other side of the equation. Some of these supply chains, they've been developed to benefit the shareholders. They are based on a for-profit model, and they're trying to extract as much as they can out of the system to pay their shareholders, which often means paying workers less, paying farmers less, and and extracting as much money out of the system as you can. So it's a fully different paradigm.
There's a question, what kind of prices are beef producers receiving through the Food Hub to wholesale buyers?
Go for it, Liza.
Yeah, well, so I'd have to open up the Food Hub and look, but you can look at valerootsfoodhub.com and create an account without having any obligation to buy, and you can scroll through all the different pricing, especially if you open the wholesale account. But there is a little sticker shock initially when people see what our prices are, because one of our core values is letting the farmer name their price, and that's within reason. Nick will push back and say, listen, we can launch that price, but you're not going to move anything. And so we do have those conversations at times, but mainly that's what we're doing. And there's been a few times where we bought a few sides of beef, like from Neeson Farm, and then we're the ones who've actually put it through the processor and got the finished product. And so ground beef, I order for myself, and I order in the retail market, which is the individual market, CSA market. And, I'm paying about $8.62 for a pound of ground beef for my use at home, and happy to pay that.
Liza, can you also mention what are the margins that the Food Hub runs on, so people can understand, retail versus wholesale?
Absolutely. It's about a 25% margin in the wholesale market, and that's what allows us to pay our staff, keep our trucks on the road, and et cetera. And then we have a higher margin for the retail market, and I think, that sometimes can go up to 45%.
Yep, that's consistent with my experience. Yeah, 50 even. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. And the Food Hub, right now is, we started out in 2015 with about $100,000 worth of sales. We're up to, we're expecting more this year, but last year it was about $650,000 worth of sales. So we're not it's not a huge operation or anything, but we did just respond to the USDA farmers to families, and we said we could put together 1,000 boxes a week. You're really going to need to source from our farmers to fill those boxes. We'll find out on Friday if, that's scary if we got it. But anyway, yeah, so that's where we're at right now. And we have projected that if we could do $1 million worth of sales a year, we could pay for our expenses without any kind of additional support. But we're not there yet. We're more like 12.5 a week or something, and we want to get to 20,000 a week.
It's really good to hear about your experience, Liza. We'll have to draw on that further down the call. We've got a few minutes left. Further down the summit. I just want to do a couple of things, housekeeping, get us finished in an hour, because that's what I promised to people. I want to thank everybody for being on. I see at least 6 more people I talked to this week who are mostly ranchers who are not on the call. So we're trying to corral a group that is a moving target in a way. But I'm really glad for the producers who did get on today. I would like to meet some more next week. I see Betsy Barnett. Betsy, are you on? She's
Yes,
listening.
I'm on. Yes.
So that you pointed me to a couple ranchers in Kiowa County who sell directly to the public, and I did contact. I talked to Lexi Euland, and I did talk to Charlie Collins' wife. So same challenges, ranching and raising small children and everything else going on. So they were very interested to get on the call, but they're not able to be on today.
Yes, I know they're busy.
But good to have you on. You just want to introduce yourself since you're the only one who didn't get to say who you are. Just
Sorry, I was doing other things and got on late. I'm Betsy Barnett. I run the Kiowa County Independent in Eads, but I'm also a part of the economic development group here in Eads as well. And I'm the chairman of the Crow Luther Cultural Event Center. So I'm very interested in local markets and, just helping these area communities. My newspaper really tries to focus on the whole region around Eads, from north to south, and I'm really excited to join this and listen to what everybody has to say. I've learned a lot just by listening. Thank you for that.
Great. Very good content, Dan. Thank you for those slides. So we've recorded this call, and I will send it when Chelsea helps me find out how to do that to all of you, and to anybody who was going to be on the call and couldn't today. We'll also print the chat box, and so you won't miss any of the comments. I'll assemble a contact list. So just looking ahead, how is everybody for doing these calls every 2 weeks? Is that too far? Just right? Sounded like a week was too soon. So the next call would be the 20th.
Mute the radio, please.
Okay, so
I'm okay with every 2 weeks. Is there a way just to do them at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning? Because once I get my day started, it's hard to stop.
I was glad you brought that up, Gary. I know this is mountain time. Is everybody up for starting an hour earlier, or is that just too much? Let's see, you can, Chelsea, how do you do that where you can get people to show hands? Sounds really hard. Okay, who would, yeah, 5:30. Okay, so I think if
It's
we
in
want
your
to get,
reactions.
yes, okay, so if we want to get more of our producers, we probably do need to go a little earlier, like an hour earlier. So that would be 8 Mountain Time. But it will keep it to a 1-hour call. And looks like so far everybody's good with this. And next call on the 20th, I want to just cover some broad overview of the food shed and what Ark Valley Food Shed, what that means, what food sheds have meant traditionally, and then try to stimulate some more discussion. We had a good discussion today. We have 15 people on the call, so it's hard to get everybody talking, but want to create those opportunities. Then in 2 more weeks would be June 3rd, provided everybody's good for a Wednesday. I think if we just keep the same day and keep going, that hopefully would work well. But that would be with Alice Hill on high tunnels. And she does have an ebook, so we'll create some resources that we can send out after and maybe even before, but Alice does have a nice little ebook. Is that right, Alice? Am I making that up? You might have lost Alice, but I know she does have an ebook on high tunnels. Then that food panel on, we'll go ahead and make that 2 weeks down the road. So I'll just go ahead and build this schedule on out. And again, if you aren't able to make it, we'll have it recorded. But this is all towards building the groundwork for a food shed in Southeast Colorado, which we would call Ark Valley Food Shed. We are right at the hour. Any burning comments? Yeah, people are having to scoot. Thank you all very much. We'll follow up with you. Dan, great presentation. And I really appreciate everyone being on. It's a great turnout for the first call.
Thanks,
Everybody
everyone.
have a productive rest of the week.
Thank you.
All the best.
Thank you.